Hello, everyone, and welcome to the night shift. I'm your host, Shay. You can follow me on Twitter at Shay Tweeted at. As always, I'm joined by Zach, KJB, and today we have a special guest, Sarah Marshall. She's actually a part of the E2G sports team as well. Sarah, how you doing?
I am good. I am excited to talk fantasy football because I don't get to do that often. So I also want to say I'm very new. I am trying to learn. So if I say something wrong, just call me out and just be like, you don't know what you're talking about. Because I'm still trying to figure it out. I mean, I had a team last year. I won one game the entire season, and then that'll tell you. That tells you everything right there.
Hey, I respect it. You got to start sometime, right? Like we all
Mhm.
had our first years.
Yeah, no, I joined the
Absolutely.
fantasy game really late, so I'm trying to figure it out.
I mean, and don't feel bad about saying stuff wrong. Shay says stuff wrong all the time. We're good.
Thanks, Zach, bro. All right, man. Way to throw me under the bus. All right, so we had a crazy week 4 for fantasy. I feel like this has been one of the craziest seasons so far that I could remember. A lot of running backs not doing what they're supposed to, wide receivers. What are some immediate reactions to week 4? I'll start with you, Zach.
I mean, one of my reactions is I feel like the league. There's a couple like the Bills and the Eagles. I feel like on the top tier. Then I feel like there's a bunch of teams just in that beyond or not beyond, but like almost mid category. I mean, I was kind of there's 15 teams that are 2-2.
That's
I was like,
crazy.
which in most years you get like a mix of, but like this is like I feel like everyone's just like jumbo trying to figure out how they are, and it's not like most years. Like most years it's like, oh, okay, these 10 teams are great, and everybody else is bad. But that's my biggest takeaway. Is like even when you thought was good isn't that good, but it's just like you said, one of the weirdest years we've had.
Absolutely. KJB.
Yeah, so I thought overall this week was actually a fun week fantasy wise. We had 7 games that hit the total of 50 or higher compared to just 3 of last week. So, more points scored for teams equals more fantasy points. And I think that was reflected in the matchups, at least in my leagues that I saw. Some reactions, though, just some brutal injuries to certain running backs. Javonte Williams out for the year. And the injury he suffered is, I stay away from running backs that have ACL injuries when they return for the first year. And this one just seems very bad. So it's sad. I don't know if he's ever going to return to be the same running back we had hoped he could be. Hopefully hoping for a speedy recovery for him. JT with the ankle injury. It doesn't seem too serious. I know he says he's pushing to play. I don't think he's going to play Thursday. But I don't think it's as serious as initially expected. So hopefully he can come back strong and, pay dividends to the drafters that drafted him, most likely top 2 overall. Detroit Lions, they continue to be fantasy gold. Every game they're putting up, 20 to 30 points. This game, it was 48 to 45 against Seattle.
Yeah.
Their defense is so bad. It's just creating shootouts. And it's just making them a fantasy-friendly team. Even without Amon-Ra, Swift, Chark, we still saw their offense go off. So, if you have any Detroit Lions, I say start them if you can, if you need to, because they're producing points right now. And the Tua concussion, I think, that was kind of reality for the NFL and fans, just seeing how he kind of looked on that fall and just knowing in your head that like a couple of days ago they lied about his concussion. They said it was a back injury, but truly it was a concussion injury.
Yeah.
And we're seeing it now where they created new rules in the NFL that hopefully can avoid that from happening again. So I feel like honestly that was probably the biggest topic of week 4.
Absolutely.
That would be the biggest, yeah.
Sarah?
Not to be a homer, but I was pleasantly surprised about the Patriots and the fact that they were able to take Aaron Rodgers all the way to an incomplete overtime. I was not expecting that at all, especially with how the game started and Brian Hoyer got hurt immediately. And having a third string rookie quarterback, I know that the Packers are not necessarily like that dominant of a team as of right now. But I mean, the fact they lost by 3 points, everyone assumed we were going to get blown out. So that was really cool to see. I think basically I agree with everything else. I think one thing that I found a little shocking too was the Bills have been so dominant this year, and they were struggling against the Ravens, and then the Ravens blew it and I love Lamar, but those 2 interceptions really killed them. But I mean, that was nice for, an AFC rival for me to see them struggling because, the Bills are going to be at the top of the division. So that was a little nice to see. And I think my biggest takeaway for fantasy this week, at least for me and my teams, I'm struggling with tight ends. Tight ends are just not producing. They're very inconsistent. I mean, even from top guys like George Kittle, like very inconsistent. Darren Waller, Hunter Henry is not doing anything. I have Kyle Pitts not doing anything. And so I'm really struggling trying to replace some of those guys in a few of my leagues. Like I don't know who to go to, because these guys that you usually are okay with just drafting or even just setting them and forgetting them, you can't do that. They're just getting you 3 points. So it's like, okay, where do I go from here? Because there's nobody in the waiver wire for, that there's no options there. So.
Absolutely. Tight end is by far the hardest positions outside Kelsey and Andrews. It's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
Obviously, Hawkinson had a huge week.
Yeah.
Some big injuries played a factor in that. But, Kyle, I know you mentioned Jared Goff and the Lions. So,
yeah.
Do you feel that Jared Goff's the rest of season is a QB1? So he'll finish it as a top 12 quarterback.
Yeah, so it's funny we're talking about Goff because I actually started him in a couple of leagues last week, and I've had him for a couple of weeks. Just kind of like going into the season, I thought Detroit would be this fantasy friendly team that they have been, and I think you can start him with just like with the possibilities that he can give you QB1 like startable weeks and has that upside. I think there will be some opponents where you'll be disappointed. Like this week against New England, I don't really, I would have said that last week against Green Bay, and look, it hit like the 50-point total between both. So, who knows? But I don't know if New England's really going to create a shootout like we saw with Seattle, because Seattle's defense is horrible, and the way they're kind of passing more than what we expected, it led to that game. So, just be wary of that. But I do think he can give you QB1 upside. I mean, he threw for almost 400 yards without his 2 best offensive players in Swift and Amon-Ra. And I think this also could mean wheels up for Jameson Williams when he returns.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. Going back to the New England game, their total is 46.5. Would possibly.
Is that in New England or in Detroit?
Yeah, it's in New England.
In New England?
Is it? Wow.
Yeah.
If it was in Detroit, it'd probably be even higher because they play in a dome.
Right.
So, I mean, that tells you everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, his defense is so bad. Like, it's just perfect for like shootouts and fantasy games. Their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, he's been doing a great job, and he's starting to gain buzz around league circles. Could be a coaching candidate for next year. So he's been he's been doing a great job.
Yeah. Sarah?
So I've looked at him, but I think I agree that he can put up these numbers, but from what we've seen so far it's been like a roller coaster, which I kind of feel like that's just Jared Goff in a nutshell. Like week 1 was 15, week 2 he got 26, week 3 was 13 points, and week 4 he got 33. So it's very inconsistent, but because so many quarterbacks are playing that way this year, I don't think it's a bad choice to bring in Goff, but you definitely have to like monitor who he's playing and the defenses, especially. Like, I hope that they get obliterated by the Patriots defense, because I am very concerned about how high power they are on offense and how we're not. The Patriots are not. I don't even know what quarterback's playing this week. So,
Right.
I think with him, it's just consistency. So the whole setting and forgetting him type of thing, I'm not quite comfortable with that yet. But I still think Jared Goff's like a good option if you need somebody.
Absolutely. Zach?
I kind of agree with KJ a little more. I think because Detroit's defense is so bad, other than Okuda, that they're going to put up so much. They're going to have to either get into shootouts with everybody, and so I feel like by the end of the year, I think he will get a quarterback one, but it's just going to be like I wouldn't have him as like your main guy personally, but like there are some points like you need points to go get it. In 2 quarterback leagues, I would definitely start him. But if he's your only quarterback, I'd be a little bit risky about it.
It's crazy. They're averaging 35 points a game and allowing 35 points a game.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's insane.
That's getting no help from your defense.
And do you guys, I'm butting in for a second. Do you guys enjoy shootouts? Because I feel like it's so dependent on the person. Like I personally don't like them.
What's your definition of a shootout? Let's put it that way.
Well, like you know,
plus?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like remember there was the infamous Rams-Chiefs game where it was just like touchdown.
Oh no, I hated that game.
Okay, see, that's the type of thing that I don't like.
Yeah.
See, it's like it's entertaining, but I want to see defense. You know, it's like
I want it like
I like both
30-25 type games.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. But like if you go any higher, it's like okay, somebody make a stop.
Yeah.
But even 30-25, like I consider that a good game because that's hitting the 55-point total. Like you barely see any games nowadays with like the total's 55.
Yeah.
So I think over 50, yeah.
But going to the Chiefs-Rams game, I love that because I had so many players in that game. Like I'm watching my players put up fantasy points, and it's just a fun back and forth game. Like it's competitive. I'd rather watch that than a Steelers-Jets 13-7 game where I'm going to sleep watching Trubisky throw picks every drive. Like
because I know like for the the Super Bowl 53, there was like so much controversy around it because it was such a defensive heavy game and people were upset because it was a Super Bowl and it was very low scoring. But I was sitting on the edge of my seat the entire time because I was like, one possession drastically changes this game. So like that I find a little bit more entertaining, but maybe that's just because I had some skin in the game. Obviously the Patriots are my team. So but yeah,
no, I agree with you.
That's what it is. I'm a Rams fan, so I felt was like,
I'm sorry.
I was like, yeah. So I felt like, everyone else was bored watching the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, yes, all we need is, like you said, one stop. And that Gronkowski pass really did. I mean, Sony Michel's the only guy that scored a touchdown in that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And,
well, that's different in my opinion. That's the Super Bowl. Like that's last game of the season. Like that's do or die. Like that's different than like a week kind of like Sunday 1:00 game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, like fantasy wise, I love it. But like as a personal, like watching the game, I can't. If it goes over like all these like the Eagles Lions game this year, it's like somebody get stopped. This is annoying.
Yeah.
Get you more nervous, like because your defense, you can't rely on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a funnel. As long as it's not a blowout to me, I'll enjoy it. Blowouts, it's just so hard to stay interested.
Yeah.
And especially and fantasy makes everything a little better, but
I think
still
that's the problem now.
From a viewership standpoint, it's like anything but a blowout. I'll take it all. So who are some players that we're buying low on? Zach?
All right, so I got
a
couple. I got with Zach Wilson coming back, even though I don't think he's that good. I do think Garrett Wilson's targets are going up. I mean, even his first with Zach Wilson's first start, Garrett Wilson's already second in targets. So I mean, I feel like he's gonna try to feed in some. J.K. Dobbins, I think, is coming back slowly now. So I feel like a lot of people still were scared about his injury. So, but in that Baltimore system, someone's got to run the ball other than Lamar, unless you want to run it in the ground. I do. Okay, then I got one. I think George Pickens we're finally gonna see the season of him because we know what Trubisky is now. And then since Pittsburgh announced that Kenny Pickett's starting, I feel like George Pickens' targets are going to go up. We're going to see more consistency because I feel like Kenny Pickett's more likely to throw it deep 2 and more than Pickett is. Because Pickett's ceiling's capped, or sorry, Trubisky's ceiling is capped.
KJ?
Yeah, I agree with Zach on the Pickens one. I actually had Pickens and Deontay listed. I just think Pickett's going to bring some upside and some spark to that offense. And Deontay's coming off a bad game. Might get a team that's panicking, and you can buy low on him. I mean, Deontay's a very talented receiver, and I think we're going to see the arrow pointing up on that offense. They're facing Buffalo, Tampa Bay, Miami, and Philly. You know, some high-powered offenses. I just see Pittsburgh having to play catch-up majority of those games. And Pickett didn't look bad. He had 3 picks, but
the majority of those. The first one didn't look great, but the other 2 I don't.
Yeah, I mean, there was one that Hail Mary. I mean, it was a Hail Mary.
Yeah, the Hail Mary one I don't want.
But besides that, like 10 for 13, he didn't look, and he had 2 rushing touchdowns. He's giving you that rushing upside. Like, I don't know. I think the arrow's pointing up for this offense. Alvin Kamara coming off the rib injury, but you know, if someone has them and they're hurting right now, you might be able to buy him cheap. And I don't know. It's still Alvin Kamara. I think, you know, better days are ahead. His schedule's looking up. He has Seattle this week, so if he plays this week, like, he could have a monster game against Seattle. So Kamara's on my list. Kyle Pitts. I mean, Sarah mentioned it. She's struggling with the tight end position. So why not buy low on a potential difference maker? I mean, he hasn't done shit really this year, and
yeah, he had like one game that was okay.
Yeah, and most likely, if someone has Pitts, like, you know, they could be doing well. There's a good chance they're not, though, because you have to take them most likely 3rd, 4th round. So if you have a chance to, you know, buy a talented player like Kyle Pitts cheap for a position like the 10 end position, where like it's literally Kelsey, Andrews, and, you know, throw a dart at the wall, hope for the best. You know, I'd be buying low on Kyle Pitts. Kyler Murray, Cardinals offense has looked really bad. You know, they really haven't had anybody, and he's still producing QB1 numbers, and he still has overall QB1 upside, and this team's getting Hopkins back. They just got Rondell Moore back. You know, I do like buying Kyler Murray cheap if you can. And Sky Moore's my dude. We saw him playing some more. Only ran 11 routes, but saw 4 targets Sunday night. And this wide receiver corp for Kansas City is not good. I think talent's going to prevail here. It's only a matter of time before Sky starts seeing more playing time.
All right, Sarah?
So after listening to everybody's answers so far, I think I answered this wrong in my notes because I think it's more on par with like who to pick up on the waiver wire because of Javonte Williams' injury. So I said Mike Boone. So I'm assuming not many people have Mike Boone, but he wouldn't be a bad pickup because Melvin Gordon is kind of injured, even though he's the number 2 back. He's injured and not really doing a whole lot, on par, like we've said, with the running backs being an issue this year. So you could try and get Mike Boone. I can't imagine many people even know who that is. And as a running back, he's also their primary passing back. So he's going to put up points for you. And now that Javonte's out, I mean, like I said, I don't know. This doesn't answer your question completely, but
I like that. Buy low and boom.
Yeah. I'm going to be looking at him honestly because I got some running back issues.
You know, Russell Wilson in time is going to cook. He's a second half quarterback.
Yeah,
and he's going to throw to his running backs. And Melvin Gordon can't stay upright all the time either. It just sucks, man, with Javonte.
Yeah, and I will say for this week,
they didn't work him enough as it is.
Especially if you owned him in fantasy, that's a big blow.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Boone this week,
round 2,
they just got Latavius Murray. He doesn't know the offense right now, and they play Thursday, so I doubt he'll be a factor. Melly, we just saw him fumble Sunday, and Mike Boone.
Wait, Murray went from the Saints? He went from the Saints to the
Saints practice squad.
They released him?
Yeah, well, they signed him off the practice squad.
Yeah.
And he accepted to go to Denver. So I love Mike Boone. I'll tell you this. I've used Mike Boone the past couple of years whenever injuries arise. But I am hearing from like people within Denver that are saying Murray and Melly will be the early down back and Boone will be the 3rd down back. So, you know, it's ugly. Latavius Murray, like we know what Latavius Murray is. I personally would take the shot on Mike Boone if you can. But yeah, just keep that in mind if Murray's signing with the team. But I do think Boone can be a viable this Thursday.
Yeah, you had Boone when he was on the Vikings, right? A few years ago. And
I used him in championship game. He gave me 4 points.
Yes, that's what it was.
He was starting.
Yep, I remember you start. Damn, wow.
I'm so fucking pissed, dude. And then I used him last year for a game.
Yeah. All right, so since we're talking about buy lows, let's do some sell highs. Sarah, who would you sell high after week 4?
So my first one, I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire because he's clearly
that last week.
Oh man, we were arguing about that last week.
I know.
What was the argument to keep him? Because
I said Clyde is looking great, and honestly, he wasn't even looking as good as he did this past week.
Yeah,
you could definitely get a lot for him though.
Yeah,
so he's in the sell high.
You can get a decent haul, but
I would say it definitely depends on how your running backs are looking, because obviously if they're not looking good, which a lot of people are struggling with, then don't. But if you need a haul, then he's probably at the top. It's the same thing. Like I saw a lot of people talking about Josh Jacobs because he had 34 points, I think, in this last game.
I actually like that one.
So if you, again, it's another spot that you need help with. And those are two that I would go with. So those are my top two.
Solid.
I don't have either of them. So
yeah. But if you did, you would sell them high.
Possibly, yes.
If anyone was in the league. Yeah. Josh Jacobs for sure I would.
Yeah.
I don't believe in him.
Yeah, I like that one.
But he did have a
monster. Not in that Raiders system. It looks weird.
The Raiders are I kind of feel like they're disappointing because I think
yes.
I mean it's Josh McDaniels and it's his first year, whatever. But I mean, they have so many good pieces on their offense. It's like amazing to me that they've won one game. Like
they were 0-3 till last week.
It's crazy. And that's the thing it's weird because you think that like if you build kind of like a super team kind of that like your team's gonna be fine, and it's like this is just proving that no it's not, because you thought that Devontae Adams was just going to elevate that offense, and he does, but not enough to win.
Yeah,
exactly.
And before this past week,
I feel like anytime you get someone getting a super team, they usually don't do good.
Yeah, it's just crazy.
I mean, like that was yeah, but then look at
the
this.
Rams are the only team to do it.
Yeah.
But the Rams they had as anchors. So it's a little different.
That Eagle squad was that 2014.
Yeah, 2010 when they had Vince Young, Asa McGuire,
and big, and they were like, and then they were awful.
They won like what 6-7 games.
Yeah.
All right, Zach. So who are some sell highs that you have right now?
All right, I got for you. All right, I got one that he finally boned, but I'm selling him because it's bad all year. Austin Eckler. It's not that Chargers running game has been bad all year long, and then this game he has 3 rushing touchdowns, and he still only had 13 carries for 60 yards, and that was not a good run defense they were playing in. Then, so a lot of people hyping him as the worst. Yeah, just because the 3 tubs that I was like, if he's on my team, I'm selling him now. Because I don't think he can do that consistently, especially with how many offensive linemen still down. I mean, Slater's out for the year. They did get Corey Lindsey let back, but I wouldn't trust any their running backs. I'm also gonna do Najee. I mean, I think with Pickett starting, I think they're gonna be throwing it a lot more, and he's not gonna be able to get the rushing yards for it. Or like a line work, which is inconsistent. And then one other project I got is Chase Edmonds out of Miami. I feel like Raheem Morris's taking it from him, and so I think a lot of people are like, oh, just because they got him, but I was like, Raheem's not messing around with this run game in Miami. So those are, I mean, yeah, they're all running backs, but I feel like that's all the time to get out of.
I love it.
KJ?
Yeah, oh man, I had trouble with the sell high stuff, but my first one was TJ Hawkinson. I mean, prior to this past week, he didn't score more than 10.8 PPR points, and like you weren't really thrilled to start him, but he took advantage from Amon-Ra being out because Amon-Ra really does eat up those low ADOT targets that, Hawkinson was taking advantage of once Amon-Ra was out. So once Amon-Ra is back, we'll see what happens with Hawkinson, but I doubt you're going to find a better, sell high opportunity right now with Hawkinson.
Mm-hmm.
So say, you have another viable tight end like an Njoku, where if you can sell Hawkinson for another position that you could benefit from, then, I would do that. This one I had like 0 of this offseason in my best ball teams, but Nick Chubb, currently the RB1. It's scary because Chubb is very talented, dude. Very talented. And we're seeing it. But I will always fade an RB for a top wide receiver. And if I can get a top 5 wide receiver in return for Chubb, like I'm talking like a Diggs, Devontae Adams, one of those guys, I'm going to take it. Like I feel way better starting them over Nick Chubb.
For sure.
We're seeing Chubb on his high right now, but we've also seen his lows. But it's scary because he's doing this with Jacoby Brissett. So with Watson, he could be doing even better. But it's all about the return. If I can get a top 5 wide receiver, I would trade Chubb for that. And Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny just tore it up against Detroit. Detroit's defense is Swiss cheese soft. And we saw him break out some long runs. And we're still seeing Kenneth Walker getting more work. And I'm not really a believer of that Seattle offense. So if you can sell high on Rashad Penny and get a good return for him, I would do that.
I got a question for you about Nick Chubb. You trying to trade him this week when you're playing the Chargers defense, which is 31st in the league?
Yeah, true. Well, yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe you could hold out one more week and let
you could do that. You could hold out one more week. I guess it depends on the structure of my team and, how in depth I am with running backs, like how the schedule's looking this week. A lot of factors play into it. I'm just saying, like, for a player I was off this offseason, if I can get a top 5 wide receiver in return, I would definitely do that for me. But you make a good point. You make a good point because he could smash this week. But I still think Kareem Hunt's that dude. Like, Kareem Hunt could come in and eat up the work. We could see Kareem Hunt outscore Chubb any given.
True. But I also feel like it's almost like a ETN and James Robinson. Type situation.
We saw what J-Rob this week, right?
That's another discussion. Doug Pearson doesn't want to run the ball in the ring. That's a whole nother discussion. 8 carries each. No. But that's what I'll just be watching about that, man. That's just me. That I'm waiting a week on Nick Chubb.
Yeah, I respect it.
Some good sell highs right there. We're talking about running backs. A lot of running backs this year. So some surprises in the top 10 right now. You have Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jamal Williams, Miles Sanders. Those are some shockers. Barkley at number 2, having a resurgence in New York. So what do you guys think about the running backs this year and what they're offering to fantasy football? KJ?
Yeah, I mean, my strategy in redraft was mainly kind of to avoid running backs early if I could. If I didn't, I would go the hero RB route where I take a running back early and just hammer wide receivers afterwards and take a running back with like the round 7 through 10. If there's one that I like, that would take them. It's been difficult if you went running backs early because they're not really producing the same upside that we're seeing from the top wideouts or like certain wide receivers. There's been running backs that haven't been worth the ADP that you spent on them. And now we're seeing injuries come across, which comes with the volatility of the running back position. So, I mean, if you went 0 RB strategy, you're kind of benefiting. I mean, CEH is killing it. Josh Jacobs is killing it. Miles Sanders, J-Rob had a bad game, but he's been killing it. Cordell Patterson, I know he has the injury, but he's been producing.
Cordell got put on IR, though.
Yeah, exactly. But previous to that, he gave you like winning weeks pretty much. And now Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, like you could have easily have went wide receiver heavy, stashed backups, and boom, you have a starting running back once they get hurt. So
True.
Yeah, it's still early though. But yeah, I think if you went 0 RB, it was definitely the route so far.
For sure. Zach?
Honestly, I kind of agree with KJ. I mean, I did reach a little bit and get Chubb early, which he's helping me with my 4-0 for my leagues. But I do feel like there's a bunch of running backs I could have gotten later and still gotten similar, maybe not quite as much production. Because I do feel like there isn't as big of a drop off as there has been in years past. Because years past, if you don't get a top 10 running back, you get no points for a run back unless you don't have no running back strategy, which can work, but it's not always the greatest strategy. I've come to realize. But that's like I said, I think that's probably my biggest thing is like there's not all the running backs are putting up close or similar type numbers as opposed to like even backups putting up numbers like KJ said earlier that any given week Kareem Hunt can take it from Chubb and put up better numbers. I feel like there's not like as consistent.
All right, Sarah.
I'm basically just echoing that because I think it is just a consistency thing. The guys that you normally would be expecting to put up great numbers like Derrick Henry, Eckler, McCaffrey, it's just not happening. And then the injuries, of course, like Patterson is a huge thing, a huge blow for anyone. I have him on one of my teams and I was depending on him a lot because I had him, I think, as like a bench guy. And then it's like now I don't have him and I'm like, okay, but this guy's not doing anything and this guy's not doing anything, then the guy that's actually producing anything is out for at least 4 games. Of course, if you have Javonte Williams, that was a huge blow to your team. So it's just at this point, like we said earlier, it's just hard to figure out who the best option is to pick from now because the guys that you think you'd be doing great with are not doing that. So it's just now you have to try and kind of guess, or you could just try and I guess not ignore it, but like not worry about it as much. Try to get as good of receivers as you can to make up for whatever the running backs don't do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told Shay earlier this. He said Derrick Henry is not the same. I mean, he did have a decent week this week, but he's not been the same. He was the same.
For 2 weeks, that's 2 weeks in a row. Actually, last week he scored more than this week.
Who won those?
He looks a lot better. Yeah, well,
it's his win-loss splits.
Yeah, when he's losing behind, forget about it.
Yeah.
He's on the bench. But he's honestly looking better as a pass catcher.
He got like 5 targets the past 2 games, dude.
Yeah. Which I do think I will say that is helping his pass catcher.
Yeah, if he continues that, I was wrong on him because that's true bell cow. Like
he's back, man. He's already looking at he was rusty.
He had a touchdown taken away too from a Treylon hold.
True.
Exactly.
Is he back or is it the Titans are playing decent now, so they're not trailing by.
He just looks explosive. He looks explosive. He's breaking tackles again. He wasn't doing that for the first 2 weeks, and then in the playoffs against Cincinnati last year.
Yeah,
he's just running up the middle and falling.
Yeah,
he's going to the out again.
Old Henry.
That's just that's.
I mean, that's just the issue though with power backs, man. They don't last long.
Yeah, this could be it.
Yeah,
the last hurrah. All right, so let's get into
DeMarco?
Yeah, DeMarco. Yeah. Let's get into some waiver wire ads for week 5. Sarah, I'll start with you.
My focus was on tight ends and I guess quarterbacks too. But Will Dissly, he has been putting up numbers the past couple weeks. So for, the people that need tight ends, because I think I have Tyler Conklin on here too. I had him last week because Kyle Pitts hasn't been doing anything. So that was a good pickup. They're not getting like a ton of yards, but they're seeing the ball a lot more. They're getting touchdowns. Dissly has 3 touchdowns in the first 4 games. And Seattle hasn't been like a big team that uses tight ends over the last however many years, but they're definitely seeming to implement him more. And I think they should because, I mean, there's like Metcalf basically, and he came alive last week, so that was nice because I had him as well. But I like those 2, and maybe this is a little bit of a controversial one, but I said Teddy Bridgewater. So we know that he is going to be playing in place of Tua, and quarterbacks are very inconsistent. So I wouldn't be surprised if Teddy is like not that bad. They are playing the Jets in New York, which the Jets can be kind of up and down. It's hard to say where they're going to be this week because they played pretty well last week, but it is the Jets. I mean, it's still the Jets.
Absolutely.
And I even said, I know we already said, or KJ said that he wasn't completely on board with Seattle, but Geno Smith is not doing that bad either. So
No, you're absolutely right.
I mean, he's averaging, what does it say? Over the past 2 games, over 300 yards. So, I mean, as far as fantasy points, if you need a quarterback, he's not a bad option. And I might be considering him too, because I've had Stafford in 2 of my leagues and he's just not doing anything. So definitely not a name that I would expect to be talking about today. Geno Smith and Teddy Bridgewater. Like, what is this season?
Yeah.
Geno's been awesome though.
Yeah. I'm glad, because I always just remember when the whole debacle in New York and how he was punched and the guy broke his jaw. Like, that was so sad.
That's the only reason he lost his job.
Yeah, it's just it's crazy. So it's cool to see that, especially where, Seattle didn't look like they were going to be at all a contender. And I'm not saying they will, but it's good to see some life there instead of them just kind of being the joke of the NFL this season.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy they look better with Geno than Russ?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
I think
compared to last year at least.
Yeah.
Compared to Russ's, like,
I mean, even if you want to compare the two, Russ in Denver, Geno in Seattle.
Right.
Geno's
been better.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Sure. KJ?
I'm gonna throw out Wan'Dale Robinson from the Giants. Man, Giants just have nobody right now. And they need a spark on offense. I think when Wan'Dale's back, he could be huge for PPR. Who are they rolling out? Richie James, like
who looked horrible last year, didn't even get a point.
Yeah, like Richie James, like Kenny Galladay, like it's just
and
bad.
then Tony's in the doghouse somehow.
Yeah, like Tony, who knows?
Well, he's been hurt, but he might come back this week.
Yeah, but even
I like Wan'Dale's a great ad.
Even when he's healthy, he's been in the doghouse.
Yeah, I just think Wan'Dale's a really good player, and I think he could eat in the slot. So I got Wan'Dale, Khalil Shakur, and this is dependent if McKenzie's out. He's in concussion protocol right now, but Crowder is out indefinitely with suffered a broken ankle.
As always,
McKenzie. Yeah, if McKenzie's out, could open up an opportunity. And if you're in a pickle and you need a flex starter, then Shakir, he plays for Buffalo. Like, you'll start some Buffalo players.
Yeah, sure.
Rashad White, I got Rashad White everywhere. If he's available, though, I would definitely say he should be your number one. Man, he looked good. He looked good, dude. Mm-hmm. And he just fits playing with Brady so well. Like, he's such a great pass catcher coming out of the backfield. And we've seen Brady in his past years just targeting running backs. And we saw it with Fournette. Like, Fournette ate as a receiver with Brady. And, there's going to be a time, I'd say, but good chance that Fournette will get banged up. Or if not, they're gonna lighten up his load. And I think he's even said that. Like, there's a report saying he actually told White and Keyshawn Vaughn, like, you guys' time is coming soon. Like, I want longevity, so I can't be playing as much as I am. And
his power back.
Yeah, and like White ate on that one full. He had the goal line carry. He's getting all the receptions. Like, if Fournette goes down, man, this dude has so much upside. So if he's available, I would definitely say get on Rashad White. A couple of others, Isaiah Pacheco, George Pickens, Tyler Algier. Like, if you can get them, throw a little fat.
Algier looked awesome this weekend.
Yeah.
Big running.
He'll probably be a popular ad.
Yeah, especially with
Patterson's out. On IR. Damian Williams is dust. Like, yeah, I like Algier. They ran a lot too. They weren't letting Mariota really throw.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, Zach?
All right, my two, the one we talked about last week was Robert Tonyan with Green Bay. Not a huge fan, but it's like a quick tight end fix. He gave 10 points. He had a tub, so that helped. And prerequisite, both of my picks are tight ends. And then also like Mo Ali Cox. Still not a huge fan of that Colts offense. He still did have 2 touchdowns with 6 catches. So like I feel like he may be one of those touchdown only guys, which isn't great for yards, but it does help you. Obviously touchdowns are worth more than yards or fantasy. So I feel like he'll help you with that more than other running backs. So if you're looking for a tight end, I'd say Tonyan or Mo Ali Cox would be my 2 look into to try to see if they can get something.
So since you guys gave some great knowledge on ads. How about some drops? Zach, start with you.
All right, it hurts me to do this, but I may be dropping Rondell Moore. I'm dropping, and I'm dropping. I'm thinking about dropping Matt Collins. I mean, yes, I was hyping him up. He may be on the train, but versus the bad offense, with the Oakland offense isn't great. So I feel like he may be getting off, and then I feel like eventually Devontae's going to turn back into Devontae. And so it's going to eat into some of Matt Collins' fantasy points a lot. And then when Hunter Renfrow comes back, too,
then Waller has to eventually come back, too.
Exactly. It's too many mouths to feed in that offense.
Mm-hmm.
Unless, barring something crazy happening, I feel like Mac Collins, the train's done. You can drop him. And then, obviously, due to injury, I would think about dropping Patterson. Or Cordell Patterson or if your league has an IR spot, stack them there. But if you're trying to get ahead for the playoff run, I would go ahead and drop him off.
And they better have IR spots.
Mm-hmm.
Sucks when leagues don't. I make sure
I
put three in mine.
Agreed.
Yeah,
100% agreed. Every league should have it, but there's way too many leagues I've seen that have no IR spots. So you're kind of up a creek when players go down.
Yeah. Sarah?
So I have Mike Gesicki. He was always a guy that I would rely on as a tight end over the past 2 or 3 years that I've been playing. But he's not doing absolutely anything in Miami, which I'm kind of surprised about. But I guess that's the Tyreek Hill effect. You kind of don't need the tight end when you have the fastest guy in the league. But he only has 10 targets this season. So, I mean, he's basically non-existent. And then I also have James Cook. I think a lot of people are excited about him coming into the season, especially, it's Dalvin's younger brother, and he's going to, Buffalo didn't really have a run game. So it seemed like he could be an immediate starter, but it looks like they're really going with Singletary. So I would, drop both of those guys because, I mean, they're just taking up bench spots at this point.
KJB?
Yeah, a lot of this is dependent on your league size, but my number one, Chase Claypool, he hasn't done anything, and Pickett really didn't look his way when he came, so I think he's truly maybe the fifth option behind Najee. I mean, we got Pickens, Deontay, Freiermuth. Najee is going to be getting targets, Claypool could be that fifth option.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
you don't feel good starting him. He's just like Sarah's been saying, like Zach's been saying, he's going to eat up a bench spot. So, if there's an elite upside handcuff you want to get off the waiver wire, then I think about dropping Chase Claypool. Some dusty veterans, Robbie Anderson, Marvin Jones, I don't know if I feel good about starting them. Cole Kmet, dude's been doing nothing, so I don't know if you want to trust him. And then Greg Dortch was kind of first 3 weeks he was a plug and play, but with Rondell back, Hop's coming back, you can just drop him.
All right, so which players have bad matchups coming up in week 5 that fantasy owners should think about sitting, even if they're pretty good players, but the matchup is just so brutal? KJ?
Yeah, I don't have much, but I might say this every week. There's 3 teams I don't like starting running backs against. That's San Fran, New Orleans, and Tampa Bay. CMC could get there on receptions, but I do not, I don't trust any running back for San Fran. And, you got to start CMC, but I don't know if the upside's really there for him. And then, so this is weird. Kenny Pickett. So Buffalo has been just stifling quarterbacks, but I think this is but I think this is a game where Pickett's going to have to throw. I don't know. It's kind of weird to include Kenny Pickett on there. I had trouble finding players for this. Last week I had better success, but I don't know. I want to start Pickett in my 2 QB league, but Buffalo kind of scares me.
I mean, you saw what Baltimore,
Sure.
what happened with Baltimore.
Yeah, they've been really good fantasy-wise stopping QBs. Yeah, Lamar had his worst fantasy performance. Yeah,
The rain too, obviously.
yeah, true.
The rain
You would
messed up
think-
everybody.
Same with Josh Allen. Josh Allen. had
Josh
his worst
Allen,
game, too.
Trevor was awful. He was.
But Buffalo's-
Lamar was awful in the rain.
Buffalo's such a good offense. Like that should create better like game scripts for the opposing quarterback to have to throw, but they've just been stifling them. So I don't know.
Agree.
We'll see. I'm interested to see how Pickett's going to play though.
Yeah. All right, Sarah.
I don't have specifics. I have basically I don't feel comfortable playing anyone on the Steelers because their offense has to go against Buffalo's defense in Buffalo, and their defense has to try to stop Josh Allen and Diggs and whoever else they throw out there. It just seems like a complete mismatch. Like I wouldn't trust a single Steeler, honestly. And bench them. I wouldn't trust them at all. Not against that. I mean, on both sides of the football too. I mean, it took Buffalo's offense a little bit to get like going last week, but then they came back and won the game. So, and they were able to get 2 interceptions off of Lamar pretty quickly and easily. So, Trubisky or whoever they have, Pickett, whoever they have, I don't like it. Not at all.
Yeah.
I feel that.
All right, Zach. How about you?
So I just got one big guy, and it's Justin Jefferson. He's been inconsistent all year, and Chicago's second in the league against wide receivers. Great week 1, he had a great week last week, but I feel like even when Chicago's playing San Fran, Ayuk did nothing. Debo barely did anything. So I feel like I don't know if it's just Chicago's defense or if everyone's just off, but I'm not starting Jefferson this week. I'm a little nervous about it.
Do you think the Bears' ranking could be in part to who they faced? Like they beat the Giants, even the Packers, and then the San Fran game
It
that
was
was
in a monsoon.
it was in a monsoon.
It was in a monsoon. True. So yeah, it could be that fact. True, but it's just something to keep an eye on.
Jefferson's just tough, but I do agree he's had 2 games under 10, but then he
had
had
2
two monster games.
Yeah,
I will say they do have a nasty corner in Jalen Johnson. I think he's been banged up, but he's a really good cornerback.
Yeah, but like I said, like I know some
and he
kind of
shadows
hot take,
too.
just like watch it with it. Which a lot of corners are like. Jefferson's first game, the Packers game, Alexander did not shadow him. He should have, but he didn't. He wanted to too, but so that's always the factor I've noticed is some of these corners aren't traveling anymore, or the coaches aren't traveling. Let's rephrase that. There's a few that aren't.
Xavier Howard. It was Xavier Howard. I know he definitely shadows. He was on Diggs a lot and clamped him up pretty well. But it's definitely.
It's a different thing. They're not as much as they used to for me.
All right, so I'm going to name some players. We're coming on to week 5, but, you can panic at this point with some of these guys. But I'm going to shoot some names out, and you guys just let me know panic or patience. I'll start with Allen Robinson.
Actually, I want to hear your opinion on this one after I go, Shay, because this is your guy, man.
I would show patience for sure with Allen Robinson just because he's literally playing every snap for the Rams. He actually had played more snaps than like Aaron Rodgers this week. He's out there, and the matchups should get better, and the offensive line should get healthy. But I wouldn't start him. I wouldn't drop him either.
So you're benching him?
And I wouldn't trade him because you're going to get robbed. You're going to get like a third string running back. Someone's going to try to hustle you. So, on my end, I would show patience. I believe in the talent, and I'm not just saying that because I'm a Rams fan. I've thrown Akers under the bus. I say our running backs suck. But Allen Robinson, I think some good times could be coming. I would be patient. Just don't start him.
Yeah, because that was my viewpoint on it. I was like, I'm patient. I'll be slightly patient, but I would not start him anymore. Especially with at least at minimum until the offensive line's gets healthy. Because with some of the stuff Stafford's be doing, like the Brett Favre passes and stuff, it's kind of hurting both the numbers. So I feel like he needs to be on the bench wait for a couple weeks, see if once the line gets healthy, and then see how we go from there. If it's actually full on panic
mode. All right, KJ, your favorite team? Let them know what's up. With Allen Robinson.
Yeah, I think at this point you have to show patience because you're not going to get anything for him, and
exactly.
And if you're in like a 10-team league, then I guess you can drop them. But like in competitive leagues, you're holding on. Think about the Ramses, and I think Shay can agree. Like they have such a concentrated like target share right now. Like there's going to be games that A-Rob can have big games, and they're going to need them. Like this offense cannot just run through people. Two people. And if you think A-Rob's washed, then fine. But I still think there's games we can see him put up big performances that you can use in your starting lineup. So I just think, nature of the game, I think panic mode's already past it. Like you got to show patience and wait for the good matchup. And just hope for the best.
All right, Sarah?
I'm going to agree. Basically, it's just the same thing. Like, I mean, there's only so many games that they're going to be able to. I mean, Cooper Kupp is amazing, and I'm not taking anything away. But I mean, obviously, he's going to be the number one guy. So anyone else trying to come in and compete with him, it's just not going to happen. So I think you have to be patient. He's brand new to the team this year. Obviously, the offense is not doing that great for the Rams as it is right now. And they're going to have to try and figure something out, get into the groove of Stafford and Robinson and see how that works out. Because as you guys were saying, like there's only so many times you can rely on the, 2 or 3 guys on your team and just letting these other guys just line up and not use them. So Robinson will have his day. It just might not be for a while.
Yeah. So it seems everyone here at least believes in the talent and it can come because it seems like, you guys would hold and I'm on the same wave. Darnell Mooney, Chicago Bears. Sarah?
This one I was unsure about because I had Mooney last year and he ended up playing pretty well for the most part. But I feel like the Bears are just kind of like in the like gray area. It's like you kind of don't know what they're doing, if they're going to be good, if they're going to be bad. And then they also have a running quarterback. So that, of course, always just takes targets away from people who no matter who they are. So I was kind of unsure. I wanted to hear what you guys had to say.
All right, KJ, you want to start?
Well, Mooney wasn't really a player I was kind of like high on going into the offseason. But I think after his past performance, I think I wouldn't panic. I think I'm still willing to give Fields some more time to kind of develop as a passer and give the Chicago offense more chances. I mean, Mooney's a talented wide receiver. Don't get me wrong. We saw it last year. He put up over 1,000 yards. In games with Fields. So, I think better days are ahead. He has good matchups coming up. So I think we saw the upside that Mooney does bring. So I wouldn't really panic just yet. It's kind of tough to start him, but I'd still hold.
All right, Zach?
See, I'm a little different. I'm a slight panic. Just like I didn't personally have him. I didn't think Mooney was going to be that great because I felt like the Chicago offense wasn't going to be good. Because they have no line. Mooney's the only receiver, so all the coverage is going straight to Mooney. Well, I do agree that Justin Fields does need a little more time before we can go, like say, bust or whatever. But I do think right now I'd be like seeing if any, but like you're not going to get much more Mooney right now. But so I would think about maybe either dropping him or benching him or probably more benching just because I don't think Chicago's offense, if it gets better, I don't think it's going to be good to like mid to late of the year this year.
Yeah, personally, I'm panicking. I feel like this weekend's game, he had his best game, and I feel like that's like his ceiling. The 4 catches, 94 yards. You're probably not going to get many touchdowns, maybe 3-4 this year from him. I was big on him, and in some drafts I took him in the 5th round, thinking, all right, you know what, he could be if I went running back heavy, a different strategy, put Darnell Mooney out there with a guy like Allen Robinson, and they're both on this list. So it's unfortunate. With Mooney, the panic comes more from his quarterback. I don't believe in Justin Fields. I don't think he's a good NFL caliber quarterback, especially in the pocket. He's fast, and if he wasn't so fast and mobile, he probably wouldn't even be a starter in the league. So just like with Cole Kmet, he was another guy, a sleeper. With that, I guess you were hoping Justin Fields could take that next step, but from what I've seen from him, I'm in a panic mode. I'll keep him just on the bench, but I'm not gonna plan on using this guy anytime soon, if ever, because the matchups he's had haven't been even too bad. So it's not like.
Now, do you think it's Fields or you think it's the system?
Last year you could use. No, you're good. Last year you could have used the system thing, and then as an excuse, I guess as an excuse you could use for him is the offensive line's bad. But Darnell Mooney's a damn good receiver, so I'm not going to say he's bad, but the other wide receivers are pretty average.
Just remember, they still have games against 2 games against the Lions, a game against the Falcons, Vikings. I mean, Vikings aren't really anything scary. Washington, they're one of the worst secondaries in the league.
Yeah, but he played Houston already. The Giants.
Well, Houston's kind of getting eaten up in the ground.
Yeah,
and he had a good game.
The Giants, he had his best game.
Right. It's like, but at Green Bay, he had -4 yards.
Oh yeah.
Like, I don't know. I guess it plays more into the part where he was drafted as well, because he was going in the 4th, 5th, maybe 6th round.
See, it's tough because you can't really sell them. So, like, if you're in a deep league, if you drop them, someone's going to pick them up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, let them. I mean, it comes from, it's a panic doesn't mean you drop a guy. It's just like you're panicking because he's played bad and he just had his ceiling game.
Well, I think you should have been panicking before this week.
I mean, after the first 2 weeks, I was like, Jesus.
Yeah.
This guy's target share, he had 5 targets in 2 games, and I get it, the monsoon, the weather, week 1, whatever, but I mean, guy still he still threw 2 touchdowns, Fields, and 0 to Mooney.
Yeah.
I guess I was bigger on him in the preseason maybe than you were. So it's kind of like a different outlook.
Yeah.
So my panic comes from having a share of him and kind of regretting it.
I definitely understand that.
Alvin Kamara. KJ.
Yeah, I mean, I said I'd be buying low, so I'm showing patience.
Sarah?
I'm slightly panicking because he's missed 2 games, and the 2 games he's played in, he had 15 points combined. So definitely not performing how he normally does. And so I mean, especially as one of your probably higher drafted running backs, I'm panicking.
All right. Zach?
Yeah, I'm panicking just because, like, New Orleans offense looked good for a minute there, but now the last 2 games it's not been good. And now with Kamara, and then he's like Sarah said, Kamara's already missed 2 games. Now it could have been worse if he got suspended for his off-field thing, and then we'd really be panicking. But yeah, so I'm panicking. I didn't have that much faith in Kamara. I felt like he's a little too inconsistent for me personally, other running back. But so going into it, I wasn't like, oh, gotta go get Kamara. But so I'll be panicking some on him personally.
All right. I'm patient with him. Matthew Stafford. Zach?
He's leading the league in interceptions again. I know it's early, but
oh man, what a low blow. Jesus, guy.
Yeah, I love that, dude.
You always got to throw like 2 or 3 jabs. Low blows.
But I wouldn't go straight in panic mode because I feel like panic is almost like, oh, he's done it. Like, I feel like he's still going to have his games. He's a gunslinger, so he's going to have games where he has a bunch of interceptions, and then he's going to have a game where he throws a bunch of touchdowns. Cooper Kupp has like 3 in a game or something. But I'll still have patience because I feel like but I feel like also the ride you get on if you've made Stafford your quarterback number 1. That he's going to have a game. He's going to have a roller coaster season.
Yeah. KJ?
And I'm torn. Not gonna lie, because I feel like I kind of want to say I'm panicking. Let me ask you: do you think the elbow is affecting him, or like?
Hell no, man. Guy's passing 70% completion percentage. He's like number 2 in the league.
Yeah, but
he has no one to throw deep to. Van Jefferson's not there.
But I mean, we talk about matchups. This dude, all right, the Bills clearly has done well against quarterbacks. The Falcons,
number 2 defense. The Bills are the number 2 defense.
Falcons, he should have put up at least a monster fantasy performance that didn't really happen. The Cardinals didn't see that, and then we just saw him take 7 sacks against the Niners, and now he's got to go
pressures
up against
though. If you get pressured 28 times, and you're not gonna.
He's going up against a Cowboys D line that forces a lot of pressure.
Micah Parsons.
Panthers aren't no slouch. Then you guys get the Niners again, and then the Bucks, and then the Saints. I don't know.
Let's hope that line gets healthy before that.
Yeah, again, I'm saying panicking, but I think that could backfire because we've seen Stafford put up big fantasy performances and have big games. So I'm kind of this might be a cop out, but I'm kind of on the fence about Stafford right now. I kind of want to see a little bit more.
All right, so panic from KJ. Sarah?
I'm the same as KJ. I originally put panic, but I think, I mean, from what we've seen, and I'm sorry, this is going to be a shot at you, but we've seen some shades of Detroit Stafford that just doesn't look very good.
And that's consistent roller coaster.
Yeah. So, I mean, as we know, it's expected with him, but when you have such a loaded offense, you're kind of hoping, I mean, they are the Super Bowl champs. You hope that they're going to be able to come back the next season and do well, but he is the type that can put up a really good game. So that's why I'm on the fence too. It's
yeah, I feel the same way.
Yeah. And I have him in 1 or 2 of my leagues. I can't remember. And so I'm trying to be patient, but then when you put up less than 10 points, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? This doesn't help me at all.
Then you bench him and he throws for 4 TDs.
Exactly. So then I'm like, I'm damned if I do and damned if I don't. So
yeah, with Stafford, this week, for example, I had him in a league. Seen Jared Goff was around. I'm like, yep, I'm taking him. The matchup wasn't good. The whole interior offensive line was backups, and then it got even more injured when Shelton left the game. So you're only as good as your offensive line. I mean, we're seeing it with Brady in the first few games up until this Kansas City game, but they don't have the best defensive line. You're only seeing that's why Big Ben had to retire. Yeah, Goff has what? The number 2 pass protection line, right?
Yeah, right.
They're number 2. So, I mean, I think the Eagles are 1 and then Lions are 2. Yeah, absolutely. Even Jalen Hurts, this guy's they have so much. I'm like, oh
yeah, because because that's
envious of those offensive lines.
Because that's what got ahead, because they got Taylor Hurts early and then they locked it down. And then off he went.
Yep. So we'll go to the last one. We'll just end this with Jonathan Taylor. Do we have patience or are we panicking on Jonathan Taylor? Sarah?
I'm panicking just because we don't know completely the extent of his injury. They originally thought that it was a high ankle sprain, which is not good. So until we know more details about it, I'm panicking because you draft him high. I mean, for a lot of people, he was the first overall pick. And if we don't know how long he could possibly be out, I'm panicking. I finally got my hands on him this year, and now I'm just like, okay, cool. What is happening? But yeah, I'm panicking until we get more details.
KJ?
Yeah, it's fair what Sarah said. We don't truly know how serious the ankle injury is, but I mean, I have him on a team, and I'm just kind of showing patience right now. We know this dude is arguably the best running back in the league, and he started off slow last year, and having some rough games so far. But when he comes back, I feel confident he's a plug and play RB1. So I'm gonna show patience. Fingers crossed, the injury isn't too bad, and hope for the best.
Right, Zach?
See, I'm panicking a little bit, not just because of his ankle injury. Indianapolis' offensive line is not good, and like we just talked about, offensive line matters,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been getting. I mean, given part of it is Matt Ryan's statue back there, but he's
Yeah,
getting
their
beat
offense
up.
doesn't look good.
He's fumbling off. Even with Pittman or even with a Pierce back, it's not. Their offense doesn't look great. So, and then eventually your defense is gonna get tired, which leads to the other team scoring, which leads to less opportunities for Jonathan Taylor. So I'm a slightly panicky, mostly just not as much for him, but more of his situation with the offensive line being bad and Matt Ryan not being good. But
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, if you know someone like with Taylor, I know Sarah, you said you had him. Would you look to trade him?
Oh, I don't think I'm not there yet. I was looking to see if anyone had Naeem Hines because I was like, oh, I could try and grab him. And of course, he's already rostered in every league. And I'm like, gosh,
Good
you know, very unfair. But yeah, I'll keep him just because I want to hear the news first. If it's bad, I mean, if the initial reaction was a high ankle sprain and yes, it came back negative, but if that was your initial thought, then that is a little bit worrisome to me, just because, I mean, especially as a guy that's running for his life on every single snap, it's a little concerning, but I'm not getting rid of him yet.
All right.
For me, it depends on what do I get? What are they offering?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could probably get a nice wide receiver one and probably a running back for
Definitely.
Taylor.
Then, depending on who it is, I will do it. But like, I'm not doing it for, I don't know, like
For like a Michael Pittman.
Like,
yeah, no.
No
one on the
no one in
Colts.
that offense.
Yeah.
There we go. Yep, no one on that Colts offense. Or like you gave me who? Oh yeah, because Michael Pittman's not wide receiver one. Let's just emphasize on that. But like if they gave me, I don't know, shooting for stars here, but say if they did Jefferson and then like Herbert, like a lower running back or something, then I might do it, but I wouldn't do
that could
nothing
be possible.
major.
Yeah. All right, so that about wraps our show here on E2G Sports. Presents the night shift. Thank you, Sarah, for joining us tonight. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
I appreciate the feedback and everything. So, KJ, Zach, see you guys next week. Everyone else, make sure to like and subscribe. And that's it for the night shift.